So here we have a list of numbers, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers here, and of course we can print this to the screen. Now just remember that you can't call your list list, because that list is a reserved word. You can't call your list list. You have to call it something unique, just like you can't call something int. So when I run my program, you can see that it prints my list to the screen nicely like that. Now what if I don't want to actually have my whole list on the screen and I just want to print part of it? Well, we can do that too. Now I'm going to bring up a picture of our list. Now here's how lists work. It's sort of like a bunch of boxes in a row. And the first box has a 4 in it. Just because you can see right here, the first number is a 4. The next number is an 8, so our next box has an 8 in it. The third box has a 15, the fourth a 16, fifth 23, and the sixth box has a 42 in it. Now each of these boxes has an address associated with it, or a name associated with it. So the address of the first box is always box number 0. Okay, so we always start counting at box number 0. And then the second box is box number 1. The third box is box number 2. And then our fourth box, which has a 16 in it, is called box number 3, and so on. So each box has a number inside it, its contents, or its value, and each box also has an address. So how do we access just this 4? Well, we can access that 4 by saying print out what is in box number 0. Okay, so what's in box 0? Well, there's a 4, so we can print that to the screen. And the way we can say just print out box 0 is we use square brackets with the number inside it. So my list 0 means print out what's inside the first box of my list. So when I run that, you can see it's just printed out the 4, not all the rest of the list. Now what if I wanted to print out this 15 right here? Well, you would probably go, oh, a 1, 2, 3, that's the third letter. But remember, it always starts at 0. So the 4 is box 0, box 1, box 2. So the 15 is actually box 2. So when I run that, you can see it prints out a 15 because it's box 2. So what if we want to access multiple things in our list? Like let's say we want to access all 3 of these instead and print them to the screen. Well, the way we can do that is go colon and 3. So what's going to happen then is it's going to print everything up to the third box. And by the third box, I don't mean the third one in the list. I mean box with address number 3 on it. So this is box 0, box 1, box 2. It won't print this one out. It'll just print out up to it. Sort of like the range function, right? So you can see it printed out the 4, the 8, and the 15. And then because this has the address number of 3, it only prints up to it. It doesn't include it. Now what if we just wanted to print everything from this box on? So the 15, 16, 23, and 42? Well, remember this is 0, 1, 2. So we will print from 2 on, from 2 up to the end. So when I run that, you can see 15, 16, 23, 42. And one more, what if we just want to print the 8 up to the 16? So 8, 15, and 16. We want to print these 3. We don't want to print anything else. Well, the 8 is in box 1, right? Because 0, 1. So I want to print from the 1, but where do I want to stop? Well, 0, 1, 2, 3. That 16 has an index of 3. But if I put a 3 here, remember it's not going to include the 3. So I need to print up to this 4. And it won't include the 4. So this should print 8, 15, and 16. And when I run it, you can see that it does. And we can also change values inside our list. So instead of doing this, we can just say, all right, my list, which one do we want to change? Let's say we want to change this first number into a 5. So my list is 0. So in other words, access the box that is at index 0 and set it equal to 5. And now when we print my list, it should go 5, 8, 15, etc. And you can see that the 4 has been changed into a 5. Okay, so that's how we access different elements in our list by using an index. And we can simply just access them to print them. We can change their values and all that kind of stuff too. Now, one last thing, this is a list right here, but we have another kind of data type, which is called a tuple. And I'll just say my tuple will be this. And the difference between a tuple and a list, they actually look extremely similar, except tuples have round brackets and lists have square brackets. So that's one difference between them. Now there's one other difference. For example, if we try to change my tuple, let's say we try to change the first one in my tuple to a 5 as well. So we're going to have the exact same list of numbers here in this tuple right here, except we want to change the first one into a 5, and then we're going to print it out to see if it's changed. And when I try to run that, you can see I get an error right here. And it says, tuple object does not support item assignment. In other words, if you have a list of things that's never, ever, ever going to change, using round brackets is okay. Okay, you can make it into a tuple. That's all right. But the problem comes in if you try to change one of these values, you can't do that. You can't change values that are in this tuple. You can change values in a list, but you cannot change values in a tuple. And that's the big difference between a tuple and a list.